Question of the morning up on our Facebook page. If Steve Kerr is done, what is his legacy? It's a guy whose name has been in the basketball headlines for a long time. Darren says, I always liked Steve Kerr. He's pretty much won everything in basketball. Cue the haters in 3, 2, 1. Kevin got too involved in politics and ruined his reputation. And that is the basic PK framework of these comments. There's a few people in between. Jared, his best trait as a coach was cashing checks.
Well, it would be everyone's best trait. That's why they do it. They don't do it for free.
Hey, could I fly all over the country and hang out with you guys and you don't have to give me anything? Said nobody ever.
I think his legacy is the coaching for the NBA titles and then being a role player who hit a few big shots as a player. And he was fortunate enough to be with some really good teams. It's not like, the Bill Russell story where he says, boy, I was really lucky. All my teams won. I think Steve Kerr was really lucky that all of his teams won. Bill Russell's teams, he wasn't lucky. He was the reason why they won.
Yeah, he actually Kerr bounced around, so all of his teams didn't win. But when he got to a couple of franchises with stars, they did win big. 2 with the Spurs and 2 titles with the Spurs and three titles in a row with the Bulls. But obviously, the Bill Russell role was being filled by MJ and then by Tim Duncan. So,
yeah, and he contributed to those, and that puts him where he needs to be legacy-wise.
He was at the forefront of three-point shooting as a player. He didn't. They didn't have three-pointers when he started his career at Arizona, but he got to shoot them the last year, and he shot 57%. And when he retired, he held a bunch of three-point records in the NBA. So he was a shooter. But like you said, that was his role.
Yeah. And he made, obviously the one against the Jazz, and some others. So he carved out a decent role-playing career for himself. You got to admire that. Somebody who was lightly recruited out of high school and got an opportunity. I think the story goes he caught the last scholarship there for the U of A, and they were winning at the time. Lute Olson had built it. By the time Kerr came along, which was like in 1984, I think, somewhere in there, and so he'd got there right at the start and experienced a lot of winning there. And I don't even know, was he a free agent? Was he a second-round pick? Was he a first-round pick? But to be able to carve out a career like he did as a player is pretty doggone impressive. And then the coaching, yeah, the coaching he's got a little bit of Phil Jackson thing going on there to where you could say, oh, he gravy trained. Okay, but that job was open and they hired him. So I mean, why would he had opportunities? Because I had heard that the Jazz were interested in him when they were going to be making a change with Tyrone Corbin, and maybe the Knicks were interested in him. So he looked at he pulled an Urban Meyer essentially, didn't he? He looked at the situation, looked at the rosters, and said that one seems to be better than the others. I'm going to go there. And who wouldn't do that? I mean, obviously, in retrospect, it was 100% the right decision to make. We don't know what would have happened if he would have gone to the other teams, but we do know what happened by him going there and had that opportunity to win. What are you going to do? You're going to criticize that? Go put yourself in a winning position? Yeah. If nothing else, he's a smart dude.
There's that. Pick your situations carefully.
Yeah.
They don't grade coaches on a curve. Well, you've lost a lot of games, but your players aren't very good. You're fired.
I think some of them do, though. I would disagree to that to an extent.
Maybe you can buy a little time, but you still get fired. And I think Donovan leaving in Chicago, and I don't know that we can characterize that as a firing exactly, a parting of the ways. Is he leaving in part to set himself up for another job down the road? We'll see how this plays out. He did get there 6 years, and he only had one winning season. So, not gone immediately.
No, but I look at somebody like Jerry Sloan. He did not ever win a title. in my mind, that detracts from nothing from what he did as a coach, because he had the opportunity to squeeze as much talent out of the lineups and rosters as they had. And there may have been a few underachieving playoff performances there. But how much is that on him? How much is that on the players? And so the players got to take some accountability for it too. And so
with Phil Jackson and with Steve Kerr, how many underachieving playoff performances did they have? I mean, the achieving does come down. You got to have the players. I mean, you just have to. Nobody wins without them. But were there any years, or were there multiple years where you thought, man, they left a lot on the table there? And they gave up a 3-1 lead. Draymond shouldn't have gotten kicked out. I mean, you can always point to that and say they should have gotten that title. They barely squeezed out that last one. And I think a lot of people did a lot of things right to get that title across the finish line.
Oh, well, I'd have to look at the most recent ones to see it was this team better than it could have been. Not when they were winning at all. What were they doing at that point? That's where I would look, and which is why it's coming to an end. I mean,
Matt says the dude has a ring on all but one finger. That's pretty legendary.
Well, and if he cut one finger off, then he'd have it covered.
You're going Ronnie Lott now, huh? Take the pinky off. That one doesn't get a ring. It's just the tip, just at the last joint. Maybe they could squeeze a ring on it. I don't know.
Put a ring on it.
Thank you, Beyonce. We got a couple people with predictions. They didn't want to go to Steve Kerr's legacy. How about this for a prediction? Matt, if the Spurs lose this year, Steve Kerr's coaching career is not done.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Back to San Antonio where he was tied with Popovich.
They won 62 games this year.
I know, they weren't exactly terrible.
It doesn't seem like Mitch Johnson's going anywhere anytime soon.
And that's not a franchise that tends to blow through coaches, right?
Not since Tarkanian left. Your guy.
Back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know who they had. I just remember his was a short stint. I'd have to look it up, and I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't think they'd make a change there. The San Antonio's just getting started, and now the coach has his excuse. If they go out, his best player took a big-time fall. I was watching it at the time, and you're like, ooh, ouch. And he had that hardwood, especially for him when Biyama being so tall, he's got a long way to go from the face to the hardwood because he's so tall. And he hit it, and it's clear he was dazed and down and out. And my wife's, we're watching it together. She goes, "Where's the trainer?" It's like it took him 10 minutes to get out there. And then obviously he got up and took off and went in the locker room, and we'll see. It certainly was a hard fall, but essentially they've got, if they lose, they got their yeah, but.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
He has an amazing legacy. He isn't done. He'll go on TV for a bit, but he'll be on everybody's short list. He's done TV before, and he was good before. I'm sure he'd be good if he wants to do it again, if he doesn't want to completely step away from the game and take time off. I can absolutely see his name being on everybody's short list. He's 60 years old, PK. That seems right in the sweet spot where he absolutely could come back and he absolutely could decide, no, I'm going to retire. I'm done. 60's good enough.
That's a lot of absolutes, man. He can make an absolute decision then.
He can do absolutely anything.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if he wants to continue to coach, 60 isn't even close to being old in terms of, the game has passed him by. I don't think that, and obviously I'm biased now because I'm older, but you can stay current if you want. And I think that he would have no problem doing that.
And him going on TV would be one way to stay current. Keep his name and his face at the forefront.
I don't think he needs to do that, though.
He probably doesn't have to, but he could. And that would do it.
He could absolutely do anything he wants. I think he should run for office. He's got a lot of solutions. Now's the time, man. Make a difference. Don't stand on the sidelines, literally, and tell us what the other guy should do. You do it. Governor, didn't they just have another guy who's running around with the women who got, he's not going to run for governor? Here's his opportunity to be a governor of California, man.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Go get it. No incumbent running.
And I don't know, I have no idea what party he's representing, but the guy who holds the office, he's not running. So I don't know, I don't know about any incumbent. I don't know what party that is. So the job is there for the taking. That's what he should be doing. Now that I think about it, yeah. At least, if you're going to lecture us, get paid to lecture us, right? Here's his chance. Make a difference. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Come on. Power to the people, right on.
Power to the people. That's old school.
Right on.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah. He could unify the state of California.
Fresno and San Francisco, they're just not aligned. Let's unify people.
I think it's individuals. I don't think it's communities.
Yeah.
And I think communities, they kind of go together. I mean, look at you. You live in the city of Salt Lake, the city of Salt Lake City. And we all know where they lean.
Juan Antonio Samaranch.
We all know where the city of Salt Lake City really leans, right? Hardcore the other way. That's why you moved out from your suburban area with a bunch of them people and moved into where the like-minded people. I know you did that.
Godwood Heights, man. I just didn't fit.
I've been there. I walked them streets.
What are you, Johnny Cash? You've been everywhere.
That's close to my religious neighborhood, thank goodness.
We needed more space. That's what it came down to.
Space? Yeah, I know. You were getting boxed in. You could barely breathe. I see what you're saying.
There's no air near Big Cottonwood Canyon.
My wife wanted to go in that neighborhood. I said, be careful. I guess she went there yesterday.
She did. I thanked her.
Unbeknownst to me. Did it all on her own. It wasn't my idea.
That was an independent decision, huh?
Oh, yeah. She told me after the fact. I honestly did not know that she was going to do that.
Oh, that was nice of her.
I would have said, screw them. Let them worry about their own problems. We got ours.
Community leader Patrick Enahan.
Hey, my mother always said, charity starts at home.
So the classic, I don't feel like we can leave this discussion without the classic sports radio question. Mount Rushmore of NBA head coaches. Who you got?
Oh, man. I wish Rushmore would have had like 5 or 6.
I know, right? Why does it have to be 4? Why is that the number?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. That's so tough. I mean, it's all subjective, so there is literally no right answer. And that's the beauty of sports and the beauty of sports talk radio is a lot of this stuff, there literally isn't a right answer, but 5 people have 5 different opinions, and they run with that, right? I mean, you could look at Popovich, too, and couldn't you say everything you want to say about Kerr outside of the actual playing career, but when you're just talking about coaches, couldn't you put him? I always thought it was funny that Phil Jackson got dumped on for gravy chaining, but Popovich didn't. And they keep winning the lottery, literally. and those guys can make a really big difference if they're that good. And the guys that they got in the lottery, Robinson and Duncan, were really that good. And then Wembanyama here. My gosh, we talk about the Lakers being lucky and having all these dominant centers. Well, Spurs are right there with them, man.
Super lucky. So fortunate.
And now we want to change the bleeping rules. Bleep you, Hi-Ho Silver. No. But, in the final analysis, if you're going to go on guys who won the most titles, then certainly Popovich has to be considered, if not absolutely included.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're just going most titles, Kerr, Popovich, and Phil Jackson go right to the top of the list, and you probably Pat Riley, got to throw him in there.
I mean, I don't know how you're leaving out Red Auerbach.
Of our lifetime.
Well, it is of our lifetime.
Just barely. Not really. I mean, he won some before
well, then
our
change the rule. Don't tell me of your lifetime.
Okay.
And I got somebody who was, when I was living, I mean, I'm in diapers, crapping, burping, and sleeping, but it's still in my lifetime. It's not in my cognizant basketball lifetime.
It's not in your NBA fandom lifetime.
No.
The coach that I would want to put up there that I don't know, because, again, it was before my NBA fandom, although I was alive, Red Holtzman won 2 in New York, and people speak so highly of him. But to know what they were up against, what they had to pull off, the competition, the egos, all the stuff coaches have to do and juggle, I wonder where he would rank. He's certainly very well thought of and well spoken of. But
yeah, I was 10 years old. I remember it. I watched all those games, man.
That's your guy when you're getting invited to the Garden.
Yeah.
He's on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up at an early age because, I mean, even as a kid, I wasn't watching whatever TV shows were on. It never really floated my boat. My viewing was, and where I'm fortunate to where, that stuff wasn't broadcast nationally as much, but I didn't need it because I had all the local teams there. And Channel 9 and Channel 11 would broadcast those games. And as a kid, I'd watch them all. And I used to go out in the playground and mimic the way Walt Frazier shot the basketball. I'm talking 7, 8, 9 years of age. I wasn't one of these kids like got up on Saturday morning and watched the cartoons and all that stuff. I just for whatever reason, it just wasn't something that I was looking for. And it's interesting on coaching. What defines a good coach, and how do you know if you are one? Jerry Sloan staying a long time. That is something that's very impressive, and taking several different iterations of the franchise and winning with all of them, right? That's very impressive. Then you got a guy like Larry Brown, who's here today, gone tomorrow, but yet he won everywhere, right? At least, won competitively.
Yeah, and he did win an NCAA title at Kansas, and he won an NBA title when he got to Detroit. So he does have the ultimate championship, but you could argue that his coaching legacy would be taking franchises that were totally broken and getting them to the playoffs, like he did with the Clippers.
I was there, covered him at the time, was in the locker room when Larry Brown was doing that thing. Yeah, and that freaking thing was woebegone of all woebegons. And, he changed it around. And then, of course, he takes off, and that's what he does. That's what he did anyway. He reminds me of somebody like a Ricky Henderson who just wanted to play baseball. And even after his career as a big leaguer was over, he was still playing baseball. I think of Larry Brown as a basketball coach. Gary Croton as a football coach. He coached in high school. He was coaching junior college. The guy just wanted to coach football. You got to respect that, right? I realized it wasn't great at BYU those 3 years after the big season, but that guy is a football coach. Yes, he wants to just coach football. Whatever level, it didn't really matter to him. He just loved coaching football, and I respect that. Doing something that you love, and you're not really caught up in the glamour of it. You just want to coach. Yeah, that's what I think of Larry Brown. He's all over the place, and his teams usually were pretty good. So where would he be? He doesn't have the big-time resume in terms of titles, but okay. And then what about Chuck Daly? People thought of him as a student of the game also, right?
Yep.
Don Nelson's another guy, bounced around many different places. And then this guy practiced medicine and coached basketball, Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Dr. Jack. It's funny. Some of these guys you're naming as the Olympics went professional, you could really tell people inside the profession and who was respected, because a lot of these guys, like Daly, was given the first dream team. You could tell how respected he was. They could have picked a lot of people on that, and honestly, just about anybody could have coached that team to the gold medal. But they picked him for a reason, the level of respect he had from his peers.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about that. That's where J-Slo can be right at the top, man. You talk to those career coaches, Rick Adelman, Rick Carlisle, Flip Saunders. Those guys were in reverential tones when they talked about Jerry, even while he was coaching, not after the fact. When the record was done, then they upped the praise. And then they would always include, too, Phil Johnson. That was something they did. Always put both of those guys around the league. They'd be so well thought of and recognized. And there's something to be said for that. They should take, obviously Jerry's passed now, but Phil's still living, take a lot of satisfaction of staying in a place and doing what you did and having a lot of success. There's only one team that can win it. And then in basketball, that one team, there's been outliers, but a lot of the times that one team has multiple chances to win because of the dominant nature of one or two players, and they return for several years. And we see that. That's why these guys have, obviously Steve Kerr has multiples, largely because of Steph Curry and Draymond and Klay Thompson, and they got a couple there with Kevin Durant.